Okay, let's get to the warmongering. This is, look, for all of, we've been talking about Putin and his folly. Don't worry, we've got plenty of NeoCons here in DC who are calling for some of the most inflammatory actions I've ever seen. And the cavalier attitude that they have towards nuclear war is unbelievable.
It's disgusting.
Let's go back to Mr. Adam Kinzinger, who's now a freaking hero here in DC because he stood up to Trump on January 6th. Let's put this up there on the screen. The fate of Ukraine is being decided tonight, but also the fate of the West. Declare a no-fly zone over Ukraine at the invitation of their sovereign government. Disrupt Russia's air ops. Give heroic Ukrainians a fair fight. It's now or later. What he is saying there, when you declare a no-fly zone, this was once Hillary Clinton's policy over Syria, was to shoot down Russian aircraft conducting operations over Ukraine. If we kinetically engage Russia, we are at war with that nation. And as I told you during the nuclear block, any military doctrine of the United States and Russia is that in a confrontation between our countries, it will result in nuclear annihilation. That is core military doctrine going all the way back to the days of the Soviet Union. It does not end in any way except hundreds of millions of people dead. And by the way, I live like a mile from the Pentagon, so if it happens, I'm gone. So I'm sorry, everybody. I won't be surviving that one. It's important in order to understand just how grave this situation is and just how dangerous these calls that are institutionalized are. Now look, luckily the Biden administration has continued to rule out there will be no US troops, all of that. That's great. However, the latter calls, there's being no debate about this. We are shipping Stinger missiles right now to Ukraine. There's a debate to be had about that. There's apparently a big debate within the NSC, the National Security Council, under whether under international law that would make us a co-combatant in what's happening in Ukraine. Now that's actually pretty up for debate. But as we found out, at least in Afghanistan and all that, there was never any direct retaliation against us, even though, there definitely was Soviet support for the North Vietnamese army, and it did stay in a proxy conflict. But when somebody is crazy and when somebody is unstable, they could use that as a pretext to then target the United States. And it doesn't even have to be militarily, as you said. There can be cyber attacks. They could take down our grid. They could disrupt our banking system. You could take down the NASDAQ in the stock market and wreak financial havoc. You could take down Germany, their financial system, and that would cascade over here. There's all sorts of different outcomes through which this can happen. And we continue to see, I'll put that next one up there I alluded to, around nuclear war. Whenever he says, the breathlessness over nukes is mind-blowing, we used to call this bluff. And Louise Mensch saying very, very, she's so sure about this. Putin's not gonna fire a nuke. Can everybody please get real? If he tries, he will be eliminated. Well, yeah, he will, but so will a lot of other people in Russia and here in Washington. So this, again, you cannot speak this way whenever we are talking about hundreds of millions of people dying in thermonuclear war. And we continue to see maximalist calls from a lot of people who are at the top of Russiagate, Krystal.
Yeah, well, that's exactly, and that's an important point.
Yeah.
Let's make it totally clear. Adam Kinzinger, resistance hero, is calling for World War III.
Yeah, he is calling for World War III.
That's what this amounts to. And so I'm very opposed to cancel culture. People can voice their views, but if you're going to cancel anyone, get this guy off of Twitter, and certainly don't book him on your cable news shows so that he can spout this type of absolute insanity. Total insanity here. And to do it so casually, this is not a game.
It's not a game.
This is not a joke, and this is not a game. We should be looking for every possible way that we can de-escalate this situation. And that's why I'm so nervous about some of the harshness of these sanctions, some of the measures that are being taken, including fighter jets being sent over from the EU and our Stinger missiles, because you are just creating an escalatory ladder rather than trying to find ways to de-escalate the situation. So these people are completely reckless, they are completely insane, and everyone who had a role in helping to elevate them into these figures of esteem with a massive part of the population. I mean, this is what you get for that. This is who you have elevated. And of course, it goes way beyond adding Adam Kinzinger. But by making it just, hey, if you're against Trump, then we like you, you've put all of these neocons with the worst and most dangerous possible foreign policy views into positions of power with a large portion of the Democratic and liberal base. And the other piece of this is, again, we've sort of been operating today under the assumption that, okay, well, something's going to happen. You know, Ukraine is where the action's at, and that's it. We don't know that. We do not know that, especially, you know, we were people who were very skeptical that Putin would do even what he has done because it was such an insane move ultimately. Who's to say that he stays in Ukraine? That one of the dangerous sort of lashing out moves that he doesn't make is going after, let's say, Moldova or doing something, you know, skirmish on the border of Poland. Then what? Then what sort of pressure is Biden going to be under to actually directly engage us into this conflict? So these people need to be shamed. They need to be shunned. They need to be called down every single time they make one of these absolutely insane suggestions of, hey, well, how about we casually get ourselves into World War III? And oh, by the way, don't worry about the nukes.
Yeah, that's really the biggest. You can't overstate that. And you know, another Russiagator, Krystal, who you found, let's put this up there, Eric Swalwell, let's put it up on the screen, says that we should, quote, kick every Russian student out of universities in retaliation against Vladimir Putin. Look, the oligarchs and their kids, yeah, 100%. Get them the hell out of here, okay? In terms of punishing those people. But like I just said, I mean, these younger Russians, as long as they're not spies or have, you know, like whatever allegiance to the Russian government and are here studying, leave these people alone.
Yeah.
I mean, and, you know, their lives, their generation and all of that is completely getting destroyed domestically. These types of calls are vindictive. It's the type of mindset which led to what the Alien and Sedition Acts and some of the worst periods of our history.
That's right.
And we should remember that. You know, our beef is not with the Russian people.
The Russian people did nothing wrong here. And I saw the Swalwell thing, kick every Russian student out of universities. I mean, it's just remarkable how sort of casually they go to these extraordinarily xenophobic places after spending a lot of time, you know, decrying that sort of language and behavior from Trump and his allies. I saw someone else on Twitter who was like, seize all their property, you know, kick them out of schools. I mean, just sort of competing. This is what's happening in that segment of the liberal ecosystem, is they're competing to show how cruel they can be to the general Russian population. And that also is not a fruitful or productive or moral direction to go in. Yeah. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.